Samuel Pole writes, do you think that the success of Mad Max Fury Road will usher in a new age for practical effects?
Nope. No, I mean, a new age of practical effects for all car action? Sure, in the middle of the desert? Sure. But I mean, really, when you sit back and look at it, there's not a lot of digital effects to be done in a movie like that. It's all cars and vehicles and very physical in the middle of the desert. There's really not much else to do. I still kind of laugh a little bit at the over romanticization of this whole notion of get back to practical effects. It's like, okay, that's cool in the right kind of movie where you don't need it. But sometimes practical effects can look really bad too, depending on, or they're very limiting in that kind of stuff. So I think what Mad Max Fury Road does is it proves you can still do like the traditional classic kind of movie. But remember, there weren't a lot of special effects that were required. I guess they could have had fake fire coming out of the guitars. They could have, but why? There's no reason to do that. It worked perfectly great.
Do it for real.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, Flea, get it, Flea. It was totally like
that wasn't Flea, was it?
It felt like him.
Oh my
it
gosh.
reminded me of Flea. I was like, this is amazing.
If it turned out that was Flea, I'll lose my mind. That would be kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think, Schnepp?
I like the combination of practical and digital. I mean, that's the world we live in now, and you could over rely on CGI, which like a lot of films like Men in Black 2 and 3, a lot of just films that just came to my mind. I was like, oh, they just really, if they even half built that as a set, it would have been 1,000 times better. Or you could go in the realm of like trying to say that practical effects are better than CGI, which they're not. I mean, practical effects are not cost worthy. I mean, it's like you can get 10 people for like, 30 grand to make these incredible CGI effects, or you have to get 100 people to build everything from scratch and buy the supplies. It's incredibly more expensive to build these kinds of practical effects. That's why there aren't that many practical effects anymore. You really have to think about it. It's like CGI has gone above and beyond now, where we can almost reach that uncanny valley of duplicating humans, on screen, let alone cars and all these other. Yeah, I mean, so. I think practical effects are great, and they still, feel real because that's, we haven't been able to trick the human eye just yet perfectly, but we're so close to it. It's like melding the two is the way to do it.
And I thought there were, other than the mountain and the water, I thought like out in the desert with the car stuff, I thought there were no digital effects.
There's a ton.
But there are actually a ton. I was reading an interview with Charlize Theron, and she's talking about where they'd set up the green screen and stuff like that. It's like, but that's a great example of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. The perfect blending of practical with digital to make this overall visual experience look fantastic. Anyway, Amy Rose.
It should be seamless. There should be no beginning or end. It should not take you out of the picture. We talked about Hunger Games catching fire, like with the cornucopia. It was beautifully done, and we know as a combination. There's always going to be directors like Nolan who like practical effects. There's always going to be people like Nolan and Paul Thomas Anderson who like shooting on film versus digital. There's always going to be both. So that's really exciting from our perspective, the consumers, because you get it all. But Mad Max, I don't think it would have been as such like an eye explosion if it wasn't a good amount of practical effects.
Yeah,
because you were just watching it and you're just going, what? It was like so much. I want to see it again, talking about it all day today. But yeah, I think there's always going to be both, and I want it seamless as well. There are some things budget-wise, you just need to make it digital, but there are other things that I really like seeing, the rawness and the grit, and the actors really going for it. That's exciting.